There we go. And 1 second. And wait a minute. Sorry, give me 1 second. I got a technical problem on my end now. Hold up. Give me one. Now my laptop froze. I'm sorry.
Oh, good, man.
Hang on. Ah! Everything froze up on me.
It's all good, man.
Shit. Hold up. Okay, let's try that again. Try it all over again. Oh, nice background.
Kind of, but it doesn't. It's not working though.
Oh no. All right, I figured it out. Unfroze. When you're ready to go. Wait.
Yeah, can you hear me? Okay.
I can hear you fine. Can you hear me?
You want me to do that intro?
Yep, I'll already in 3, 2, 1. Go for it, bro.
The one-man thrill ride has arrived. Oh, yeah. And it's time for the Sign Rip podcast with Joey and the one-man thrill ride. And we're going to take it from average to absolute savage. Let's rock and roll, and shout out to my exes.
Welcome, everybody, to episode number 35 of the Sign Rip podcast with Joey G. I am Joey G. Today, I have the absolute privilege to be interviewing the absolute savage. He is the one-man thrill ride, Jimmy Preston. Thrilly, how you doing?
Joey G. I've ripped a sign or two. Dude, was I the first one to rip your sign or no?
I think the Sign Rip podcast is pretty much named after you because I think you hold the record at NEW shows for ripping my signs, bro.
I mean, it's kind of Bush League, but it's an indie show, so it's awesome. I like finding the person who wants to make the sign and ripping it in half when I'm trying to get the people to boo. So
it's all good, you know
that's
that?
cool. I just want to confirm I was the first one. I thought I was.
Oh, of course you were. You were definitely the first one ever.
So you've done 30 of these, man.
Actually, 35.
35.
I mean,
so
your episode.
Who's the biggest guest you've had besides me?
I guess so far, we're going to go with Man of Steel Mike Verna since he appeared on AEW Dark.
That's cool. Yeah, that's big. That's big. AEW Dark's a good opportunity for a lot of these indie guys, a lot of us guys. So we're going to see guys get those opportunities, and we'll see what they do with them.
Hell yeah. So Thrilly. So Thrilly, first off, tell me about yourself. How'd you get into pro wrestling, man?
It's a good question. So I was 18 years old, man. I was a senior in high school. I was actually 17 years old. And I was at a show in Taunton, the Iorio hockey rink. And I watched a guy. I ended up working, and a friend of mine passed away. But the Nightmare Nick Steele was wrestling at that show. I got recruited by Joey Eugenio, who was the at the time he was the owner and promoter of Yankee Pro Wrestling, which unified with South Coast Championship Wrestling out of New Bedford and Fall River, and became what is now known as Top Rope Promotions. Sorry, I'm moving my microphone around so I don't have to lunge over the screen. And if I'm looking to the side, ladies and gentlemen, it's because that's where the camera is. So let me good now.
No.
Here we go. We're adjusting the setup. So that's how I started in wrestling. Christ, it was 2002, man. That's how old I am. I was 17 though. Doing it for quite some time. So that's how I got started. And I, it was off and on. I did it for a couple of years. Then I played baseball in college. Gave up wrestling when I was playing baseball. Got trained by Spike Dudley at age 24. And then that's when I really became Jimmy Preston. Did that for a little while, and then I turned on the new gimmick, the one-man thrill ride. Next thing you know, I had some videos on Barstool, went viral. Made my run. I didn't really travel the world, stayed local, but, thought I had a chance to make it to the big time. Got close, but no cigar. Here we are at my in my mid-30s, going through a spiritual awakening, man, and just going for it one last time because you only live once, and I got a little guy now, and he want him to be a second generation superstar. For me to do that, I need a contract. So let's get it done.
Yeah, there you go. We'll get little Thrilly going eventually too.
He loves it,
Dropping
man. He loves wrestling. I was a baseball player and wrestler. Those were my two passions growing up. And baseball, he's good at it. He's got a nice swing for a 4-year-old, 3-year-old. He's going to be 4 next month. But wrestling is his passion. He loves watching. We watch every AEW Dark. Dynamite's tough because it's too late for him. And I don't have a DVR because I'm lazy. So I just watch the online content. But he loves wrestling, my son. Hopefully he'll be in the NEW arena soon to get it going with the yacht. Yeah, we'll get it going.
Yep. So, you were mentioning baseball and wrestling are both your passions. So I'm assuming you're a Boston Red Sox fan, and is he a Boston Red Sox fan?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm a baseball fan first, Red Sox fan second. I played in high school and college. I respect the game. I love the game. But yeah, if I had to pick a team, I'd say the Sox are my team. I haven't watched a lot of baseball this year though, but I'm a baseball guy. I love the game of baseball.
That's actually funny because I was a baseball fan first before I was a massive wrestling fan. So
really?
I love how it's just yep. I mean, obviously I'm a little opposite, as you could tell, Yankees.
It's okay. But I don't hate the Yankees at all. I'm not one of those Yankee haters. I always a fan of Jeter. I was a huge Derek Jeter fan. When I played in high school and college, he's one of the players I tried to emulate in terms of like his leadership skills and his hustle and the way he approached the game. So I was always a fan of the Yankees. Even like Alex Rodriguez. Everybody hated Rodriguez. He was so cocky. I thought he had a great swing, great right-handed hitter, one of the best to ever play. So I love the Yankees. They're probably my second favorite team. Red Sox are my first. So I'm a little weird in that regard. Then the A's were probably my 3 favorite teams. The Oakland A's, just because they have sweet unis with the white and the green.
I like it. I dig it, and that's awesome to hear, I mean, I always, the one thing I noticed about like a lot of people in baseball is no matter what teams they enjoy, no matter what, I know even if there were some that deadly hated the New York Yankees, they all had a respect for Derek Jeter, which I really appreciated,
Well, yeah, he was the captain for a reason, man, and he always sent the girls away with a gift basket after the one-night stand, so he's a class act.
Yeah, like Mariah Carey back in the day.
He had a girlfriend in every city. He did it right like Mickey Mantle, so good for him. And he wasn't married. He wasn't a bad guy. He was just being a single dude. So God bless him.
Gotcha. So you said growing up, wrestling was a big thing for you. Obviously, you were a big wrestling fan growing up.
Huge.
Did you ever end up attending any shows as a kid or as a younger guy?
I did. So Boston, the big one that sticks out in my memory was the 2000 King of the Ring, which is when Kurt Angle won the King of the Ring. He beat Chris Jericho in the first round. I think Jericho kissed Stephanie, turned around and took an Angle slam. I was sitting second to last row in the balcony. My dad took us last minute with a bunch of my buddies who actually ended up going to wrestling school. It was all 3 of us went to wrestling school. I was the only one that kind of stuck it out. It was my sophomore year of high school. And I remember that one vividly. Went to a couple SmackDown Raw tapings. But I think 93 Survivor Series was my first one, but I barely remember that. I was like 9 or 8.
Okay.
That was the last pay-per-view event ever in the old original Boston Garden. So
got you.
I'm getting screwed up because I get this new setup right with my podcast. So I'm like looking off to the side because that's where the camera is.
No worries.
And I'm usually on Zoom, so this is Skype. So like I don't have 2 screens. Normally I'd have a screen to look at you and then a screen to look at you. So when I'm interviewing, I can talk in there. So we'll make it professional. I'll stare into the video scope like Randy Savage when you ask me.
No worries, man. I get it. I tried to like learn Zoom. It was just really difficult on my end. I've been so used to using Skype. I just kind of, stuck with it,
Yep. That's cool, man. So in terms of like what you're trying to do with this podcast, you get mostly Northeast guys on?
I've had some Northeast wrestling guys, I've interviewed some guys around the indie scene besides NEW, I've been to other places other than Northeast wrestling, which is funny because I honestly thought in the past I would never go to anywhere but NEW, for indie shows. And then when the pandemic hit, everything kind of like switched me up, and my buddy told me to hit up this other place that I wanted to check out. So, but NEW has always still been my love, man.
Yeah, it's a good promotion. It's the best promotion in the Northeast. If you talk about New Jersey, New York, and the New England area, I mean, it's not just a marketing slogan. It's really the best independent professional wrestling. Even though Mike doesn't want to call it an independent because he works with AEW and brings in some big names and stuff. So he doesn't really consider himself like an indie, a traditional indie. But you know, if you want to make a name for yourself, you got to do it in Northeast Wrestling. So
Without a doubt. And I like what I love about Northeast Wrestling the most is that a lot of the guys, I feel like I feel in my opinion, that's one of the big name promotions on the Northeast indie scene that if you get through there, you're literally just so close to like making it to the big time to one of the other big promotions. I've seen some guys from who came through Northeast Wrestling end up making it into like WWE and AEW and Ring of Honor and Impact. So
that's the path, man. And I think that's the opportunity that you get with Northeast Wrestling. You get an opportunity um, to be on a platform that Mike has done such a great job building, and he's done such a great job with the promotion for the last 25 years. You get to work with Hall of Famers, with stars, with big league all stars. I've had an opportunity to wrestle, Billy Gunn and Big Cass and Enzo, and that's just recently. Not to mention all the, I wrestled Vader back in the day, Matt Hardy. I've wrestled so many names, and that's when you really learn your craft as a professional wrestler, and learn what works on television from the guys who made a living doing it. And that's when you really hone up your work and become a really good, talented professional wrestler. And I certainly would have never gotten to a point where I feel like I can make a living doing this, if it wasn't for Northeast Wrestling and the platform and the promotion. So I'm always grateful to NEW and Mike and the guys. It's the best locker room of any independent that I've been in, and good group of dudes overall. There's some guys I want to, don't want to take them to Thunderclap City. Bang them out like an absolute savage, teach them who the man is, put them on strings, make them my puppet, win a championship or two. But overall, it's a good spot. So I like NEW for sure.
of course. And during obviously during the pandemic for a while there was no shows.
Right.
Northeast Wrestling was doing Studio Wars.
Yep.
And what I really enjoyed about Studio Wars is, I got to see some favorites from Northeast Wrestling that I'd already been seen wrestling, obviously.
Right.
And then you got to bring up some brand new fresh talent as well. And one that particularly that I really have an attachment to, because I saw him wrestle back for Invictus Pro Wrestling last year, one of the few shows I was going to, post lockdown, was Gio Galvano,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw that you briefly were tag teaming with him on Studio Wars.
Yeah, no, I tagged with Gio for sure. We had that match with who do we wrestle against? It was it was Club Cam, the tag team champs. I think we got to win over the tag team champs. Maybe that's what I should be focusing on, getting back into tag team wrestling. But yeah, Gio's a great wrestler. He's young still, but he's a really good athlete. He's really smooth, good dude, good attitude, works hard. I certainly like him. I wish him the best, and I think he's on a path to success in pro wrestling. He wrestled Danny Mott for the heavyweight championship, and I don't think he got it done. But if you're on last wrestling for the belt at Northeast Wrestling, you're doing something right. So kudos to him for sure.
Without a doubt. I feel like you guys meshed perfectly together,
As a team or against each other?
As a team, I don't think I've seen you guys go against.
I think Gio and I could have we could have really good matches.
But without a doubt.
Even with this beard, I just got this baby face thing going on right now. So it's like Gio and I are on the same team.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah. But Gio's a good wrestler, and I like him personally. He's got a good work ethic and good attitude.
Right. I don't think I've I don't think I've ever met anybody who has had a negative thing to say about him so far. So
it's good. People have lots of negative things to say about me. Shout out to my exes. I'm trying to turn up the entertainment up a little bit, but yeah. Gio's the man. We got a lot of young talent, man. Ray Jazz is also a hell of a wrestler. Wicked good technical wrestler. I saw him at the studio tapings, and he stuck out to me as, like, in terms of just being an athlete, like who the best athlete is. That guy's good. And, he just needs to put it together. He's still a kid. What is he, 26, 27, something like that. So, he just needs to find the gimmick and the personality, and he'll be on top. He'll be in the big leagues, I think. He's a really good athlete, knows how to wrestle an amateur style guy. is a good wrestler. So NEW is still a place where you're seeing really, really good talent.
Yep. And speaking of young talent, we know there's another one that you're going to be meeting up with on October 16th.
Sorry, I just burped. It was gross. What a star. The Man Crush?
Yep. Mucho Chris Moljo, MCM.
Yep. He's a talented dude, trained by Bully Ray Dudley. I don't shake a stick at that, but you know what I shake a stick at? Every dime piece smoke show that's slipping in my DMs. Chris Moljo, you want to talk about my exes slipping into my DMs, bro? You are just sipping on the sweet nectar of the certified sausage rocket, straight up sloppy stacking status. That's you, bro. She was mine before she was yours. Woo! And it's not even true. He's just talking a bunch of trash. And when the time is right, T-minus, I'd say 10 days, it's going to be promo time. And I'm coming after Chris Moljo. What's his last name? I should know that. MCM. He's a good wrestler, man. He's trained by Bully Ray Dudley. Bully Ray's the best trainer in the area. He's a big dude. He's a good athlete. I'm going to have my hands full, but he's going to find out that the one-man Thrillride at his advanced age is still peaking. People think some guys peak at 18. I peak in my mid-30s. I'm at the top of my game. I'm in the best shape of my life. I'm the best I've ever been. And Chris Moljo better be ready to rock, or he's going to get beat down and be checked into Thunderclap City at a ferocious pace like an absolute savage. So that's what's going to go down on October 16th. Get ready.
And if you're listening to this and watching this, October 16th, Northeast Wrestling back at the NEW Arena, Destiny, the one-man throw ride. Jimmy Preston will be taking on #MCM, Mucho Chris Moljo. So.
Also the Man Crush. He calls himself the Man Crush, I believe, doesn't he?
Yeah, he calls himself the Man Crush twice on Mondays,
Twice on Mondays. Yeah, he's got the personality. I like that. I respect that. And he's saying that my exes are slipping in his DMs, so he wants to go there. I'm gonna have to go there, pick him up on the shoulders, bam, pow, a little toxic masculinity. It's all over.
So getting off MCM, really, is there anybody else you got your eyes set on in Northeast Wrestling going forward? I mean, obviously once you're done,
mostly the chicks. No, I'm just kidding. You can't do that nowadays. You can't do that nowadays. No, I mean, for me, I'm at kind of a weird spot, man. It's, for me, if I'm just being honest and transparent, my goals really in professional wrestling are to get a contract. If I'm being honest and transparent, if an NEW championship is going to help me get there, then that's something I want to accomplish. That might be the fan in me. You know what I mean? I've never won like an individual championship. I'm viewed as sort of like an attraction. I was on Barstool and like Instagram celebrity. So that's sort of how I think I'm viewed, where it's like, that's not how I view myself. I view myself as a very talented professional wrestler that works very hard in his craft when it comes to promos, when it comes to my look, and when it comes to my in-ring performance. All three aspects of what it means to be a pro wrestler. I work very hard at those things. And so, I mean, I'd like to be a champion. It's one thing that I just want to check off my list to say I did it. I don't care if it's for one day. So I don't care if it's Danny Moth or Keith Youngblood. I'd like an opportunity to show everybody what I'm capable of doing. Give me 25 minutes on last, and we'll see who the best professional wrestler in New England is. We'll leave it at that.
I think it was Stone Cold Steve Austin who once said, if you're not in this business to be the champion, then why are you even here? Right.
The championship is important. To me, it's about going on last and being able to put on a 30-minute match that fucking leaves the audience, excuse my language, that leaves the audience wanting to come back again and delivers. And I've really never had that opportunity. I've wrestled for the championship, I think, once at Northeast Wrestling. And I don't know if we were on last. I wrestled Matt Taven in 2014. And who else did I wrestle for the belt? I think I might have had one more title match.
Taking on JT Dunn.
JT Dunn for the belt. That was the best match of the night. Sorry, It was.
No, I agree.
And we wrestled, and we were followed by Darby Allin, who does it for a living. So I just want an opportunity to show everybody that I can wrestle. I mean, I think people don't view me as that. I'd like to go on last consistently. Check that off my list.
Without a doubt,
Yep.
So.
You know what I mean.
Oh yeah, of course. Now I know you were saying earlier that you've gotten the opportunity to wrestle several big name stars as well, who've
Yes.
made it on the made it in the top. You were mentioning Big Cass. Enzo more recently. I think I'm like
Mike
drawing a blank.
Bennett.
Mike
I
Bennett, who's going to
Mike
be coming
Bennett,
back.
Corbett Hansen, Donovan
Warbeard
Dijak,
Hansen.
Tommaso
You actually,
Ciampa. I wrestled all of
wow.
them, man. Every
You know,
single guy who's come out of New England has gone through the one-man thrill ride.
and Bully Ray too.
Bully Ray I wrestled, yep.
Yep, at
I was trained
WrestleFest.
by Spike.
Oh, I remember that. You were
Yep.
saying that before. So
So
I was going to ask you, how is training under Spike? Like, how does the how does
so
it go through that? Like, because everybody has a different way of training. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you.
no, not at all. So Spike got out of the game. Spike was only around for a year or two, or maybe 3 years, but he was the best trainer around. He was probably the best trainer in Rhode Island, Massachusetts since Killer Kowalski. He just, I think he was burned out of the business. He was wrestling for about 20 something years. He made a living at 5'8", $160 when everybody was a giant. So the guy was a student of the game, and he was actually a teacher prior to being a professional wrestler. So he had that teaching background in addition to a great career and knowledge with the business. Spike taught me how to put together match structure. And that was the most important thing because I was young, so I was 24. I got rushed onto shows because I look like $1 million. So they're like, the kid looks good in trunks. Let's get him on shows after like 3 months before I was ready. So Spike taught me early on like the formula for how to put it on a good match and the basics and stuff. As I got more advanced training, kind of learning where the cameras are and how to sell and stuff, I got that from Chaotic Wrestling, Top Rope Promotions, and a variety of different other areas after Spike was gone. But Spike was very hands-on with me. Like I think if you asked around, I was Spike's golden boy. You know what I mean? I was the guy. I was the kid who was supposed to be the WWE Intercontinental Champion. You know what I mean? Like that's sort of how I was viewed. So he spent a lot of one-on-one time with me. He taught me the Frankensteiner. I was too afraid. I was too much of a wuss to get on the top rope and do it. He's like, buddy, you just get up there and do it. When I count to 3, you're going to jump. I remember that. And on 3, I jumped and I leapt up and I did it. And I just threw my hands back, petrified, and the whole class popped. And they were like, dude, that's your finish. I was like, that's not my finish, but I like a power move for my finish, but it's just something I've hit. Still do the Frankensteiner. Top rope, baby. It's not a Hurricane Rana. It's a Frankensteiner. Scotty Steiner style. So
There you
Spike was
go.
the man. He did a lot of one-on-one training with me, spent a lot of time with me. My only regret is I didn't stick it around longer training with him because I think if that had happened, my whole life probably would have been different.
You know what?
But
Uh,
it's all happening for a reason and for good timing. So I got no complaints. Life's good.
so now, flash forward. Obviously, you're talking about the training with Spike Dudley and everything. I didn't know much about you up until like 2019,
Right.
obviously, or 2018 through
Yep.
Northeast Wrestling.
Right.
And your first match ever, how was that? Like, what was the experience of that first match?
So my first match ever was I was a senior in high school,
Okay.
and I remember vividly, man. It was right after football season, my senior year of high school. I was wrestling gorgeous Gino Giovanni in a packed PAL hall in Fall River, Massachusetts. Great building for pro wrestling. You had an upper deck circular section, like a track around the. It was packed. It was so loud, and I remember gorgeous Gino Giovanni had a promo on me. He's called me because I was a backyard wrestler, a damn good one, but I wasn't, professionally trained all the way. I got same thing. I was on shows pretty quick, and he called me a backyard hack. He slapped me as hard as he could for real across the face. And
Oh,
then the spot was 3 forearms and a power slam. And I fucking crushed him because he hit me so hard in the face. It was like I was drilling him with forearm. That's when I was a kid. I was like, man, if you slap me for real, I was going to fight you. You know what I mean? Like I had no fear. I was 18. Whip off. Big place went nuts when I hit the power slam. I remember that. And I ended up winning with a roll up. GQ Smooth was on the floor. Dude, this is 2002. This is the Attitude Era. I wrestled during the Attitude Era. So
okay.
that's how long I've been doing it, brother. And I really didn't get trained for real by Spike, and that was '09. So my first match after that was against Mike Bennett, and we went
Okay.
25 minutes. We had a great match. It was all Mike. Um, at the time, Mike was like so far advanced because Mike continued to wrestle as I went to college and played baseball. So Mike kind of held my hand and carried me through that one. But 25 minutes for my first one-on-one match after wrestling school. I had a tag match against the Now too, where I got squashed. Me and some other guy got squashed. But I mean, I was in the ring for a total of 10 seconds. I wouldn't even count. I showed up in my gear and like, you want to wrestle in a squash match? But my first planned one-on-one match after Spike was with Mike Bennett. And I was sort of in that spot immediately. Like I was always considered like an upper mid-card guy. Like right from my debut, I was very, at the time, spoiled. And now it's like, it's the opposite. I'm like Macho Man in 94, bro. You go out and announce. Go out and kick off the show. It's like, I'm like Macho. I'm ready to go to WCW, man, and fucking wrestle every night. Because I still got 5 years of prime left. You know? Top of my game, baby. Let's go.
So Thrilly, going forward, I actually got some questions from some people, if you don't mind me asking.
Let's rock and roll, dude.
Alrighty. First question is from Terry Duffy. He actually has two questions, and he asks this first question on every episode of my podcast. I think it's like the most popular question on every podcast.
Okay.
He asks, if you could create a custom title, what would it look like, and what kind of match would you defend it in?
So my favorite belt was always the WCW Championship after Flair left for WWF. So that's like 91, 92 is when Luger wore it. So Luger was the first champ with it. I think I'd want to win it or defend it. And I'm trying to think of like my favorite type of match. See, I'm a traditional one-on-one wrestling match guy. I think it's more of a sport that way. Maybe like a 2 out of 3 falls or a 60-minute match.
Okay.
Cross that off my list is one thing I want to do before I'm done is I want to have an Iron Man match and have it be good.
What would you I was gonna say, what would you customize it like, or would you just want to stay like traditional like?
That's funny you mentioned that because I shouldn't be giving this away to the fans, but I think the rumor is that NEW is considering getting a new heavyweight title belt. And I have been making a big push to make it similar to the WCW championship that Luger had and just customize it towards Northeast. So that's sort of, I would use the template of the 92-91 WCW heavyweight championship belt. I think Vader wore it and Ric Flair wore it once. Luger was the main guy with it, and just kind of put the NEW logos on it, kind of change like the artwork, but the same look, circular shape of it. It was the size. It was like the perfect belt. I think it was better than the Winged Eagle WWF belt. If you have to say the best heavyweight championship belt ever, it's a very obscure 1992 WCW championship.
I know which one you're talking about too.
It's a nice belt. It's a sweet looking belt, man. It's very, see, like the new belts nowadays, like the WWE championship, it's got the big W and it's got the red background, like the Universal title, whatever the hell you want to call it. And like even the AEW, it's like almost a little bit like the old NWA title. I like the old school 90s look, 80s and 90s titles, like Winged Eagle, like the original Intercontinental Championship is like probably my favorite.
Oh, yeah. I actually have a replica of the original Intercontinental Championship somewhere in my room, but yeah.
The original one is the Pat Patterson one, but I mean, the one that Honky wore, that Macho wore, wore.
The one that.
Even Austin wore it. Austin, I think Owen Hart. And that's when The Rock wore it, and he was the last champ before they switched to that goofy, skinny one. That was awful during the Attitude Era. The skinny Intercontinental.
Yeah, the one that looked like it was like a smaller, like just
looked like a weightlifting belt. It was like a weightlifting belt. It was the worst Intercontinental. It was like, you got the best belt in the history of belts. It's like, why are you switching it? It's not like nowadays where they merchandise them. You know what I mean? You go to WrestleMania, you see every belt ever. You're like, oh, that's why they switched the belts up to make money. Where it's like back then it wasn't like that. It was like they just switched it. It's like, let's do this we have this really good belt. Let's make the worst belt ever and replace it.
I think that if anything, they should have just slapped the Attitude Era logo on it, and that was it. Not change the actual design. I was always a big fan of the original of that version you're talking about.
Yep. The Winged Eagle belt was too good too, and then they switched it when Austin won the belt, and they had that big circular belt, which is okay, but not even close to as good as the Winged Eagle. And there hasn't been. I don't think there's been a WWE belt that's been as good as the Winged Eagle since that's its best belt. It hasn't. I want to see a new championship that's on that level. The big W with the red background is stupid.
I know. I agree.
It looks sweet. Don't get me wrong, but it's like I'm not impressed.
I got you.
I'd be impressed if I paid it.
Terry's other question would be, what's the most absolute savage moment you ever had in a wrestling ring?
God. I really haven't had anything too savage, but like pro wrestling standards, you know what I mean? When you say absolute savage, you mean like the coolest moment, or like the most badass physical? I'm trying to think, man. I've been doing it for so long. There's not one thing that truly sticks out. It's kind of crazy because I think the best matches I've had in my life have been like in the last few years. Like all my best favorite pro wrestling memories are recent. I really liked my match with Enzo. Um, we followed two really high profile indie style matches with a lot of big moves, and then we went in there and had like a TV style match, and it held up just fine. Like on paper, us going last could have been like a huge disadvantage, and I think we got through it and had the best possible match we could have for the type of match we wanted to have. I think everybody wanted us to come out and do our personalities, but we want to save that for a big venue if we're gonna do it.
Oh, no doubt, man. You know, you got two of the biggest trash talkers in NEW going at it. That would be pretty cool. I'd love to
Yeah.
hear you guys about it. You know?
I would say the most savage thing I've ever said was throwing up the double shockers and screaming "shut out" to my exes when I was in the ring with Enzo.
There you
Not
go.
not that savage, but
You know.
there's going to be. I'm about to get a lot more savage. That's a personal guarantee.
So next up, Tony Douglas. He's also got two questions. His first question is, how do you prepare to go from average to absolute savage?
It's a good question. Honestly, for me, it really comes down to like work ethic in the gym. Um, you can always tell how serious I'm taking pro wrestling by how many abs are showing. So if I'm looking ripped, I'm working hard. To take it from average to absolute savage, it's about a 24/7 commitment to excellence in your diet. I'm not eating any carbs really besides green vegetables. You do that, you get yourself in great condition. You go down to training. You make sure you're staying athletic, nimble. You can move, and then you got to cut some promos to make sure that you're putting butts in the seats. And that's one thing that I've always taken pride in. And before every show, I always do a promo, whether it's on my phone in the car or I get a green screen or something. That's how I was trained, man. You're supposed to get the audience excited for the show. So if you're not doing promos before your matches, shame on you. And I mean, that's your job as a wrestler on the independent circuit. If you're not on a contract, you should be cutting promos. So it's a personal belief I have. I don't see a lot of guys doing it. It's kind of sad. Business has changed a little bit. Everybody they share GIFs and stuff. They have some viral little stupid thing and they share it. They think they're promoting a show doing that. They're not doing anything to promote the show. You promote the show by doing a promo. But let me get off my high horse and sit down.
I dig promos personally. It really gives hype to the shows on the scene. And I feel like a lot more guys, in my opinion, need to be doing them more.
Yes.
I like when people get creative with the promos as well. Like I love seeing the background on what you're working with in the background, whether it be in your car or whether you're doing it outside your house or doing it maybe at a park or something, or like this one time Jared had me dying because he was doing it down in New York City at Times Square. He's talking fresh off of the Wrestling Under Stars tour a few years ago. He was talking about how his chest was still kind of bruised after Flip Gordon chopped the hell out of his chest and everything.
That was 2018. I remember that. Yep.
And I remember I just love interesting promos like that where you get to where they'll do it in like public settings like that, where like big name like settings where like I said, he was down in Times Square. Those really stand out to me, and I do enjoy when guys on the indie scene do put together like really good promos and they put them out there for people to watch, because I feel like it double hypes them for the next upcoming show.
Absolutely, and as a number one, that's the most important thing, right? You want to be wrestling in front of a full building, whether it's a VFW or the Mid-Hudson Civic Center. So that's important. And if you don't cut a promo before the show, do you even care if the building's full? You know what I mean? Or do you just not know what to say? From my perspective, it also gives you some stake in like your own character development, right? You should be developing your own character, coming up with lines, figuring out what's going to get you popular with the fans. It might not work, it might work, but at least you're trying, you know. So that's why I like the promo. There's a lot of guys who think they work very hard, and I've never seen them do a promo. But they think they have the best work ethic in pro wrestling. I'm like, well, you start at a score of 67 without a promo, so it's a third of it. It's a third of it. That, your look, in pro wrestling. So if you're going to training 6 days a week and they're the best pro wrestler in the world, you start with a score of 33. You got your look and you got your promo. If you're not putting out that stuff, I don't really think you have much of a work ethic. So that's just Daddy's opinion. So cut your damn promos. Grab your nuts, be a man, and work hard one time. Or be a female. Grab your, but you know, I can't talk about what you got to grab because I'll get canceled. It's 2021.
Good point.
So we'll leave it there.
Personally, I don't care in my
I know you're good. I think I kept it PG, rated R.
No, so. If you swear once or twice, it's fine on here. You know, give a pass. No. His other question is, how can we get you to wrestle for Test of Strength Wrestling?
Is Test of Strength run by Bobby Ocean?
It's actually run by Slick Wagner Brown and Bobby Ocean.
I know Slick. I should give Slick a call, man. So are they down in Connecticut?
Yes, they are.
See, my problem is I live in Massachusetts. I mean, Connecticut's a huge hike for me anyway, but Northeast is, you know, it's the best promotion around. So that's why I've always stayed loyal to Mike. I always continue to work for him. But yeah, I'm looking for more bookings. You know, I don't think I'm considered in the title picture at NEW. So we got some stuff coming up that I'm keeping on the hush hush. Once that stuff happens, Daddy's touring the country. So, you know, I'm trying to get bookings in Florida and Pittsburgh and Chicago. So I'm going to be all over the place pretty soon. Connecticut, maybe, if Slick's the man. I've known Slick for years, so I'll give him a call too. But yeah, maybe I'll get in there. I'll get down there. Slick Wagner Brown. Slick Wagner Brown was a hell of a professional wrestler back in the day. He wrestled for ECW a few times. A damn good athlete, man. He was an exceptional talent. Slick Wagner Brown. He's older than me. He's got to be 40 now. He's an exceptional talent back in the day.
He's still going in TOS.
He can still work, man. He can still wrestle for sure. I saw him wrestle, I want to say a year and a half ago. Oh, it was before the pandemic. But I announced it with Crockett, actually. It was a battle royal with Jeff Jarrett. He wrestled, I want to say, JT Dunn, I think. He had a great match. But when you wrestle JT Dunn, you usually have a good match. JT's pretty good. Of
course. Dunn's great.
Yep.
My next question is from Simon. Simon asks, how did the Absolute Savage thing come into play?
So it was kind of a silly story, but like, you know, I was always a meathead in the gym, and I had a buddy who I played sports with growing up who's from my old high school. He's a few years younger than me, but like I was doing that like side raise. I used to train way heavier than I do now. I had like 50-pound dumbbells. I'm doing the lateral raises. You know, I was jacked out of my mind. And I'm wearing the Stringer Tamp. He's like, dude, are you doing side raises with the 50s? I'm like, yeah. He goes, you are an absolute savage. And he just said it to me, and I was like, I like that. And I actually did my first promo on my car, and it came out. I just said absolute savage. And I don't know, it wasn't a plan. It just kind of came out. And then I started saying it in all my promos. And then my friend Brian Albertson came up with this logo, Absolute Savage, which is the Absolute Vodka ripoff. And I was like, well, it's my catchphrase now because I'm going to sell the crap out of these T-shirts. And that's where the Absolute Savage thing kind of started. So now it's shout out to my exes. My ex-wife loves it. In opposite land.
That's great.
Life is good. But when I'm in the ring and I do it, it's the best.
Definitely love to live to entertain, you know?
Yeah, you got it, man.
So my next question is from Kelsey. Kelsey asks, might be the dumbest question I'm about to ask, but during a roll-up or any move, have you ever been farted on or farted on someone's face?
Kelsey with an interesting question. You know, so it's funny. I always, it's kind of too much information, actually. I always make sure on show day I don't eat very much. So, like, I never have gas or anything when I wrestle. It's like it never happens. It's like usually on show day, I just I have a small breakfast and drink a ton of water, just because I like being Lean, light, moving good. If I eat a ton of food, then I might fart on someone. But like I always feel sluggish. Like I don't eat much the day of shows. So that's never been a problem for me. Nobody's ever fought on me. The worst thing that ever happened to me was Brian Malonis off the top rope, went for a bonsai drop, and as he landed, he hurt his knee, jammed up his knee. So he's like 400-pound dude, legitimately crushed me. So he sat on me, but he didn't shit on me. So or he didn't poop on me or fart. But he crushed me. Brian. He's a good dude, Brian Malone. Great wrestler.
I'm sorry. That just remember here that question from Kelsey reminds me of this one time I remember Bam Bam Bigelow did an interview, and he told the story one time about how Bret Hart farted on him doing I think it was a sunset flip or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there was an interview somewhere on YouTube where Bam Bam had said that, like, I think it was I don't know what it was, but it was
Victory roll?
Yeah, it was a victory roll, I think.
From the shoulders,
and Bret, yeah, the Bret Hart ended up farting in his face by accident, and he's like, "God damn it, Bret!" He screamed it at like a house show, and Bret ran to the back afterwards because he was embarrassed by what happened.
Yeah.
But no, yeah. Next question's from Billy. Billy asks, I think Tony Douglas just asked the same question about Test of Strength. So he asks, "What's the chances of seeing you in Test of Strength Wrestling or Invictus Pro Wrestling, which is based off in New Jersey?"
Invictus, there's a chance for sure. I'm looking for more bookings everywhere, so there's a chance you'll see me at both places. Give me another couple weeks. Stuff's about to pick up.
All
Let's
right.
leave it at that.
So, my next question is from Phil. Phil asks, "Would you ever consider going after Keith Youngblood's Northeast Wrestling Live Championship?" And I think we already touched on this, but
I'm all about it, man. I think Keith's a good wrestler. We've had one match together, and it was a pretty good match. Again, give us 30 minutes. Give us a best 2 out of 3 falls match. I think we could have a great match. The NEW Live Championship, I think that'd be a great play for Northeast more than for me. I mean, I'd like to win the heavyweight championship. You know what I mean? As much as the NEW Live title is cool. If they went back to the live format and we're live streaming, I mean, I have like 100,000 social media followers. It'd make a lot of sense for me to be the live champion. Like, I don't understand why I haven't gotten a shot. If I were a promoter, I'd be like, let's give this guy a chance because if he wins the belt, it's going to be good exposure for us. But I don't know. I'm not considered like a championship guy, I guess. I'm like, I'm an attraction. I'm like Hacksaw Jim Duggan over here. No disrespect to Hacksaw. Hacksaw is the man, but I don't get a lot of title matches, man. We gotta get the audience good and loud when I come out, so there can be no doubt. So you don't remember NEW back in like 2015 when I would come out and the floor would shake. It was a different time back then. That was the original Thrillride. So we got to get it back to that caliber. Like, get the whole audience behind the one-man Thrillride, and then, I mean, I already think if you listen to the Rumble, I got a pretty good response. I think people were behind me, so I think it's only a matter of time. But we need to get the building shaking, and then maybe I'll get a chance at a championship. But I might not be there for too long because Daddy's got big plans and big dreams.
all right.
So don't waste your time with the title shots. I had my chance at the Rumble and I didn't get it done. I got tossed out from behind. Bogus.
Yeah. Sometimes, unfortunately, that happens.
Yeah.
You know? Next question is from Chris. Chris asks, and he accidentally, I think I told him to post this on the comments on Instagram, but he apparently slid into my DMs and left me the question.
Like sliding in the DMs, yeah.
I know. He asks, what made you choose your current theme song? And will you ever go back to porn star dancing?
Never. It's funny. It's a great question. That's actually my favorite question so far. I would say that's probably the best question of the podcast. So the new gimmick, it's not even the new gimmick. It's like, I wanted to do something that's a lot closer to me. Some of the feedback that I got about why I never got a contract, you know, everybody loved the one-man Thrillride character yelling and screaming in the car, wearing like a stringer tank top and stuff. And in terms of social media, it's great. But in terms of being like a professional wrestling star, you need to kind of carry yourself in kind of a different way. And So I went with something that's a lot closer to my real life personality. So I'm still screaming when I feel intense and I think there's a need to, but I'm a lot cooler and calm, and I'm a fun guy, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm a fun guy. I look like a male stripper, so why not dress like one? You know what I mean? Like, I was a big fan of, the model Rick Martel, and even Buff Bagwell, Rick Rude, guys like that. So that's sort of how I see myself as a worker, like an old school 80s. I want to be I'm actually, I don't want to give it away, but I'm going to have toxic masculinity that I'm going to be spraying like arrogance. Um, so that's something that I'm trying to work on doing. And Mike sees me as somebody that fan favorite. I always see myself as a heater, but right now the fan favorite. But the song in particular, I wanted to do like a retro electro feel, right? Because I'm a throwback wrestler. The suits that I'm wearing, like, you know, picture a divorced mid-30s guy, me, at a Vegas pool party, jamming out, trying to hit on the 23-year-old smoke shows, which is my real life. So that's what I decided to do with my character. And a song that I would listen to would be like a retro electro type song. And that beat, it was just the perfect theme song. Like, I heard a lot of retro songs. I listen to a lot of retro when I'm at the gym. Not so much rock, because I just got sick of the same old rock songs. And I started listening to like 80s synth, like retro synth with like the guitar and it pumps me up. But that one was just perfect for down, ba down, down, ba down, ba down. I was like, this is like the perfect instrumental. And then I put my lyrics to it. Actually, last night I went to the studio, tried to redo the lyrics, and we decided to stick with what we have, just because it's a little too much with the catchphrases, I think, but it's just a better fit. Like, I try to do an actual chorus and sing, but I have zero talent at singing. So we came up with that. I just talked a bunch of trash, literally freestyling, and worked out pretty good. I liked the song a lot more than Porn Star Dancing. And that was the feedback I got. It's like, be a professional, be a star. You should have your own theme music, something original. You shouldn't be, using a general rock song, a rock star song. So new gear, no new look, no new logo. I went from being neon to kind of like pink, black, blue, which was my original colors when Thrillride was the man back in like 2015. So kind of just rebranding. I would say this is like the new one-man Thrillride, and I think it's going to stay that way for a while. I think it's going to work, actually. When I see it, like the hat and the bow tie and the sunglasses, these are sunglasses I'd wear at a Vegas pool party. They're not the obnoxious Oakleys that I wore. The suit is over the top, but it's a sweet suit. Like, obviously it's ridiculous, but it's actually like a nice, if you feel it, it's like a nice, legitimate suit that I'd wear to TV, if I go to AEW or WWE. So, like, I'm just trying to step it up. The theme song represents just who I am as a wrestler. I'm your classic 90s type wrestler. That was my favorite era. That's the style that I emulate. So that's why I chose that song. Long-winded way to get to the answer.
There you go. And might I add, I know you were saying like 80s synth and everything, right? Obviously with music. When I first started seeing the change into the newer like Thrill Daddy, as you've been calling yourself, it kind of gives me a 1980s like Terminator vibe, like from the first movie. Not like the second, third, and all the other movies, but it gave me like 1980s style like Terminator vibe, which I thought was I meant to say pretty awesome. For some reason, the wrong word came out of my mouth. But I was going to say I meant to say I dig. For some reason, the wrong word popped out though.
No, I appreciate it. And like when I came out against Enzo, I had a different song that I wanted to come out to, and I wanted to go with the neon still. And then when I went with it, I was like, that was a good look for that show. But I was like, I think I need something a little better than that. And I thought that I'm more of a retro guy. So I went Miami Vice. So I'm coming out with new gear because I can't, if I achieve my goals and get a contract, I can't wear a Miami Vice parody logo. So I'm coming up with a new logo for my next pair of gear. But you get the idea of where I'm going with the character. It's like,
I get it.
Stranger Things, like retro's in, man. The 80s are in, and I was born in the 80s, man. I was born in 1984. I'm an old guy, so you would know it. I'm in great shape. I feel great. I'm moving great, but
it's definitely.
Go ahead.
Oh, it's definitely a look that works for you, man. I'm gonna say it. You know.
I get the beard and stuff. My hair started getting a little light. I'm like, dude, I'm just gonna shave it. And sort of like Austin in the middle of his career. And I have friends who think I'm crazy for being 35 years old and still wrestling and shit. And it's so funny because if you look at Austin and Hogan and Flair and all the guys who really made an impact in wrestling, they all hit their prime in their mid 30s. And with AEW making a splash and WWE kind of revamping what they're doing, I think there's a real chance and opportunity for me to do this for a living, and I'm going all out. So that's sort of why I've kind of revamped the look and try to look like a superstar, because I think I am one. If I do it right.
Without a doubt. And I've seen some old guy. I don't want to say old. Let me rephrase that.
Bobby Roode,
yeah, I've seen some veteran guys actually make it onto AEW Dark, and in WWE. So
there are guys at AEW Dark that are 10 years older than me. Guys that are in their 40s. You know what I mean? So, yeah, there's definitely a chance. Not to mention, I'm unlike most guys in their mid 30s. I'm in ridiculous shit. Now, if I need to talk myself up, but I'm in the best shape of my life. So.
Oh man, you know what? If you look as good in the shape that you're in right now, trust me, I'd probably be embarrassed to take my shirt off. But the point I'm trying to make is, you definitely are in prime form.
Right. I'm in the best. I'm ready to rock, man. So. I love it. I love wrestling. Wrestling is it's kind of saved my life. I used to think it ruined my life, you know what I mean? Because I didn't, I fell short of my goals when I wanted to get there, and I let it break my heart, you know what I mean? And it kind of caused me to come and go a couple times, even from Northeast. I started in 2013 and 2015, left for, I would say 6 months, came back in 2016 for a year, disappeared for a year, came in 2018. And I've been here since then. I've consistently for the last 3 years, but wrestling always, I always blamed wrestling for being down in the dumps, when reality was wrestling always kept me out of the dumps. You know what I mean? Wrestling's awesome, and when you're putting your best foot forward, you feel good about yourself. And so I'm feeling pretty good about myself right now.
There you go. Wrestling's awesome.
Wrestling is awesome, man. You just gotta make sure you stay responsible and stay out of trouble.
There you go.
That's for the young guys. If any of the young guys ever listen to this.
I got 2 more questions. Second to last question is from Josh. Josh asks, do you miss being part of the trust fund, or are you glad you kicked Jared to the curb?
I love punching Jared in the face. I love talking trash to Jared, but I enjoyed my time with Jared very much. Anybody who knows me knows that I much prefer to be a heel than a babyface. So I just think I'm more of a natural at it, and my working style is just more conducive to working heel. I'm not a flashy guy. Nowadays, you kind of have to be flashy to be a babyface. I mean, but Brock's a little different now because Brock's technically a babyface. He's like a monster babyface. So that's always the challenge, is when I work babyface, how do I get the audience behind me? But I'm also a much better worker as a babyface. So people get to see I can wrestle, which is fun. When I'm a heel, I like to kick and punch. So, but I don't know. I do miss. That was a great summer. The summer of 2019 was a great summer. It's sort of when I got my second wind in wrestling. I had Cass on the tour, Bully, Billy Gunn at the start of it. And by the end of 2019, I sort of believed in myself again. I could do it. And, the pandemic hit. That screwed everything up. Otherwise, I probably would have already been really pushing hard in wrestling prior this year. But it's all good, man. Divine timing, baby. We're going to make it happen.
Yep. My last question is from Matt. Now, I know we already touched on the baseball thing before, but he has an interesting question, obviously. So since you're a big Boston guy, and we know you're more of a baseball guy, but you said Boston would be the guys. Since you're a Boston guy, do you think that they have a shot at the World Series this year? Also, in the heyday of the Yankees rivalry with the Red Sox, when it was at their peak, the 2000 to 2005, they're really hating each other peak. He's asking, which player from the Yankees would you love to have seen traded over to the Red Sox?
Well, that's obviously Jeter. If you want to go a little earlier, my favorite Yankee, I love Paul O'Neill. I thought Paul O'Neill was a hard ass tough player. He wasn't the most talented guy. I mean, he was an all-star type player, like, or just below all-star if he wasn't in the all-star game. He was, 30 home runs, 100 ribbies, 280, whatever. Good ball player. But he was just like heart and soul. He wanted to win. He's a champion. That's what I liked about him. I thought him and Jeter, when Paul O'Neill and Jeter were on the team, it was like, that was a championship. Tino Martinez, like, they were all winners. Any of those guys I would have taken over the Red Sox. That team did not have winners until like 03, 04. That's when, Billy Miller came over, and they had Kevin Millar, who was like the clubhouse guy. Trot Nixon was a hustle guy. Damon came over, and then you had the sluggers, Manny and Ortiz.
And Kurt Schilling.
Kurt Schilling he was so clutch, man. He pitched his butt off when he was hurt, bloody sock, surgery. Dude, I went through that when I was playing college baseball, and bawled my eyes out because growing up, I watched every Red Sox game, 160 games a year, you know what I mean? And watched them lose in some heartbreaking ways. And that was the thing with the Red Sox that people don't understand was the Red Sox weren't really perennial losers. They were just behind the Yankees all the time. They would always finish in second place. It was always heartbreaking, you know what I mean? Like, they would lose in the most heartbreaking fashion. Bucky Dent, or, the ball through Buckner's legs. It was like they were always right. This is the year. They're right there. So when they finally get it. It was really
I was going to say, then with Aaron Boone, too, in 2003.
I remember I was a freshman in college, and I turned it off as soon as before the ball hit the seats. As soon as I saw it was fair, I turned the TV off. I had my baseball bat. I think we had a fall league practice that day. And I just remembered it was a freshman intergender dorm. And I freaking took my bat up against the water cooler, went everywhere. All the girls went running down the hall like, Jimmy's nuts. He's nuts. I'm like, the fucking Sox just lost game 7. I can be nuts. But yeah, I remember that vividly, and I remember them losing to the Giants my senior year in college. That was the worst. That was worse than Aaron Boone. I didn't think anything could ever be worse than Aaron Boone until, was it Burris caught the ball behind? They blew the undefeated season, the Patriots. That was the worst. This year, the Sox have no chance. They got Sale, and if Evaldi's healthy, I think Evaldi is filthy, man. He throws upper 90s, incredible electric stuff. When he's on, dude, he's the best. But he's not on all the time. Sale, if he's healthy, he's good. I mean, those two guys at the top of rotation, never say never. They just look like they're going to finish at about 90 wins. I see them probably winning the wild card game and then losing in the first round. That would be my guess for the Red Sox this year. I don't think they're a World Series contender this year. I think if you can give Sale and Evaldi a full year healthy, they haven't done it since they won it. You know what I mean? If they do it again, they'll win it again. Because when those guys are both on their game, they're lights out. There aren't too many guys with better stuff in baseball than those two guys.
There you go, guys. Thrillride, thank you so much tonight for jumping on the Sign Rip podcast with Joey G with me. Do you have any social media links you want to drop?
So follow me on Instagram at One Man Thrillride, the number 1. Twitter, One Man Thrillride 1. YouTube.com/One Man Thrillride with the 1. And Facebook.com/One Man Thrillride. So those are, I think I'm on Snapchat too, but I never snap. Same thing with TikTok. I gotta get with the kids on that. TikTok. Thanks for having me, man. Hopefully we took from average to absolute savage, and hopefully the people, the NEW fans who watch this say, you know what, I'm going to cheer a little extra louder for Thrillride this week, or October 16th.
There we go. And once again, Thrillride, appreciate you coming on. Means a lot to me to have you on the Sign Rip podcast with Joey G, especially since you're the first guy to ever rip one of my signs at the NEW in Northeast Wrestling.
I mean, yeah, I'm proud that you call it the Sign Rip podcast, man. That means a lot. And you're probably the hardest, the strongest fan there. So we all love you, and we love when you show up and you're fired up. So we want to see you at more shows, man. Keep bringing the boys, man. Bring all the boys. Let's have some fun.
Without a doubt. And thank you all for listening and checking out this episode of the Sign Rip podcast with Joey G. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and I hope you all have a good night.
See you, Dinks.